Good afternoon, classmates. And today we're going to talk a little bit about culture shock. Although the University of Costa Rica provides induction to freshman students before they start classes, the cultural shock they undergo in Guanacaste, Punta Arenas, and San Jose campuses stands as an unavoidable experience due to the different backgrounds.
Well, basically, hello, my name is Nicole Morantes Rios, and I'm from Cesar. Uh, well, the purpose of this forum is to evidence the impact that culture shock has on the personal and in the academic sphere of university students. So, Cesar, would you like to start with what you found in your campus?
Yes, of course. My name is Julio Cesar, and I am from Guanacaste campus. And according to the survey carried out with the students from the Guanacaste campus who moved to Guanacaste to start the university, the results show that they witnessed culture shock in three main aspects: the weather, the way of dressing, and the means of transportation. First, First, the students analyzed are from cold areas such as Cartago, Grecia, and Heredia. Therefore, the climate they were used to was cold at any time of the day, and the heat was not a problem for them. Once in Guanacaste, at first they liked the landscapes and the beaches, which is normal in culture shock stages. This was the honeymoon stage. After this stage, the hot weather was challenging for these students to adapt. They were experiencing the frustration stage where they felt uncomfortable. So they had to change their way of dressing, which is point number two in the culture shock stage. They used to wear thicker clothes, and when they went out to the street, they mostly wore pants and blouses with sleeves. In Guanacaste, they had to change pants for shorts and shoes for sandals in some cases. Also, short-sleeved shirts to ease the heat of the day a little bit. So they got used to the new style of dressing, which demonstrates that they were in stage three, the adjustment stage. Yes. Finally, an important point that was part of the culture shock in this population was the means of transportation to the university or in the city. Why? Okay, because in cities like Heredia, Cartago, buses have very frequent schedules. And that is, there are always buses available to get around. In Guanacaste, most students ride bicycles to the university because the price of buses is higher and because they don't have a frequent schedule. So bikes are the main means of transportation from the city to the university campus by students. However, it was difficult to adjust to this change for students who were not used to the weather, but they were able to reach the last stage of culture shock, which is the acceptance stage. So, Nicole, what do you think about your campus?
Well, Julio, what I found here in my campus is that, well, the main reason why some students experience culture shock is because of the weather, because they are from, well, the most of the students that I survey, they mentioned that they are from San Vito, and you know that San Vito has a cold weather, right? For example, when they were asked um, which problems they face when they had to relocate near the university to make it easier to access to the university. All of them mentioned that adapting to Olfito's weather was a really challenging process. Besides, since all the students that I surveyed mentioned that they had to leave their homes, to leave their families. The main feelings that they experienced were happiness, right? At the beginning, they experienced happiness because they were moving to a new place, but then they started feeling anxiety and loneliness because they started missing their families. Finally, some of the things that these students mentioned, or some of the recommendations that they mentioned in order to overcome the culture shock that they were undergoing, was to try to adapt to the weather, to use cool clothing, out, to meet new people, and of course to stay in touch with their loved ones. And there was one person who mentioned that he or she was never able to adapt to this change. But now, Edgar, do you want to share with us what you find? What did you find in your campus?
Sure, Nicole, and thank you. And I want to share the result of the survey that um, represent the student behavior or the student feeling when they go to the university. And I want to share some specific opinion or yeah or answer that they did from the survey. And one of the most important details that I can evidence was the highest percent of people that was surveyed that face problem adapting to the university. And also they mentioned the problems that they face as a problem of coexistence, the problem with food and the water that is different from different places where the students come, and the climate in Golfito, and also the economic problems. From other questions that they mentioned, the experience in the university when they feel anxiety and loneliness and sadness and confusion, and the most difficult situation to adapt in the university was the climate, food, and the socialization. And they mentioned how they did to adapt for their new region, the new culture, and they say that they had to adapt to cook, to buy water, to meet new people, to socialize. And also a person mentioned that she still haven't adapted to the new culture. And also I want to share an opinion about a question about the freshman as advice um, for new students. Then they recommended that the students have to be brave and they have to pray and to be a positive attitude, and also to make this process with peace of mind, and to choose where to go to live, to have faith that everything will work out, to think about it being a sacrifice that will pay off in the long term, and also to find a place near the university to rent and to make friends with whom you can hang out, distract yourself, and practices different activities. It was the recommendation from the student that was that were survived. And now, Josue, can you tell me or can you tell us something about this uh, presentation or I don't know?
Sure, Edgar, thank you for your contributions. Well, now, first of all, I have to say that hello to everyone who is watching this video. My name is Josue Bonilla. I am currently studying at the Pacific Campus. So now let's move on to this information that I collected from the survey that we'll see that it is pretty similar to what you already mentioned from your campuses. In my case, I had 8 participants, all of them living right now in Punta Arenas, in the Punta Arenas area. But all of them come from places like Grecia, Turrialba, Goicoechea, as well as Pérez de León. So some of their experiences with this culture shock, we can say, or I can say to you that they, at first, they didn't experience any issues when they were trying to adapt to their new home, to their new place of living, right? However, most of them commented after that that they were feeling a sense of anxiety, confusion, also loneliness, as some of you already mentioned, but also frustration. And in contrast, let's say that not everything is as bad as it seems, because, well, they commented as well, they expressed the idea of feeling joy because they were arriving to a new place, and obviously they were about to experience new things in this place, right? Uh, After that, they also expressed, they mentioned that they struggled in the adaptation to the climate, of course, the weather or the culture, but also the way that Punta Arenas people behave towards them, or the way they are surrounded, right? Right. Now, some recommendations that they give uh, to freshmen. Well, I can start by saying that they advise this population to focus more in the goals than in the issues that may occur in this process of culture shock. This is as a manner of overcoming precisely this situation that occurs, as we can see and as we have been discussing. So another of these advices that they gave us is that try, for freshmen, try to interact with people, try new activities in order to little by little, let's say, introduce yourself to the new culture, right? This is a really good opportunity for them to meet new people, to make friends as well, of course, and obviously to grow. You can have a personal growth, of course, and also this academic growth as well. So this is my contribution so far. So what about Humberto? What do you have to say about this topic, this interesting topic?
Sure, thank you, Jose. Well, my name is Humberto. I'm from the San Jose campus, and in my case, on my interview, well, on my survey, I actually had responses from people mostly between 20 and 30 years old, and between the third and fourth year of the major. One of them mentioned that actually they had to move away from their family, and they said that at the moment they didn't feel it either good or bad. It just felt like something that had to happen. Also, they mentioned that one of the things that they had more trouble with was with the way that people actually behave here in San Jose. They say that it's very different from the area where they are from. From the feelings, most of them state that they actually were happy. However, it's normal to see in the results also loneliness and depression among the results. The most normal thing to find hard to adapt to, according to the results, it's actually people's behavior. They say that here in San Jose, people behave different than in their areas. Um, Among the recommendations, they mentioned that, well, it's something that you have to roll on with. Just go with the flow, basically, and just let it be. There's going to come a time where you're going to not feel that anxious anymore about the change. Change doesn't have to be that bad. And well, as we can see, different campuses present different types of culture shock. It depends on the area where the study is conducted to find different things that students can find shocking. However, there are always things that can cause a culture shock on them. I don't know what you guys think.
Okay. Well, I definitely agree with the statement. I mean, I would feel the same if I were in that position. For example, if I go to San Jose campus, I know that I will that I would feel lonely, loneliness, and also the weather would be a challenge for me because I'm used to this weather, the warm weather, but not the cold weather that is from San Jose or these areas. And what do you think, Nicole, about this statement?
Well, I consider that this process of culture shock is pretty understandable. And I think that as the students that I survey, I would experience the same situation with the weather if I have to move to, let's say, to San Jose, because I live in a place that has a hot weather. I live in a beach, right? So yeah, it is understandable, and of course, when you change your place, the place where you live, you are going to experience several emotions at the beginning. Um, Edgar, and what do you think?
Okay. I think the most students face significant culture shock when they get to the university. It was something that happened to me. I also agree that there is an important change in terms of new customs, and that at the beginning, those are situations that makes coexisting difficult. And Josue, what do you think?
Well, Edgar, I have to admit that I never got accustomed to the warm weather of Punta Arenas. I know that all of you are having different experiences, of course, but in my case, I couldn't. I just couldn't get accustomed to this climate. But I have to say that in my case, I do enjoy having the experience of traveling to Punta Arenas, meeting new people, their culture, the way they eat, the way they behave. And for me, this uh, truly a great experience. But so this is my contribution. So what about Humberto? What do you have to
Well,
say?
sure, guys. Well, I also have to admit that I think it's really hard to get used to weather outside from what you are accustomed to. Um, I have to say that I found it funny that in such a small country as Costa Rica, people find so many things to feel shocked about. I mean, there are always going to be things that are going to be different. So I think it's really interesting to see from the point of view of people that are moving to a new area, how things can change. And well, I believe that will be it. Thank you.
Yes, guys,
Yeah.
thank you for your opinions. I think that all of you were interesting, and that's it. Bye.
Bye.